Amara had been looking forward to Grandma Abina's birthday for weeks, imagining the laughter, the stories, and the warm family moments that always made those gatherings special. But when she finally reached for the envelope that should have had the invitation, her heart sank. It wasn't there. A sinking feeling grew in her chest, and then the truth hit. Zola had hidden it. Her own sister, the one she trusted, had kept her from being part of something so important. The realization felt like a punch. This wasn't just a birthday party. Grandma Abina's celebrations were known for more than food and music. They were where secrets were shared, honors were announced, and family legacies were. Missing it meant missing something life-changing. Amara's mind raced with questions. Why would Zola do this? Was it jealousy or something deeper? She thought of the countless times Zola had managed to steal attention, always one step ahead, and now it seemed she had extended that pattern to exclude her from this milestone. Amara's stomach twisted as she imagined the party going on without her, the laughter she wouldn't hear, the announcements she wouldn't witness, and the eyes of the family turning toward her absence. A mix of anger and hurt swirled inside her, but beneath it, a spark of determination began to grow. She refused to let Zola's betrayal define her, or keep her from the life-changing moment that awaited. This was her family, her grandmother, and her chance, and she wasn't about to let it slip away without a fight. Amara sat on the edge of her bed, the unopened invitation still heavy in her hands, and memories of her childhood started to flood back. She remembered how, even as kids, Zola had a way of making herself the center of attention. At school events, family gatherings, even small moments at home, Zola always seemed to know how to twist the spotlight toward herself. Amara had tried to stay in the background, content with her own achievements quietly, but it never seemed to matter. Zola would find a way to make her accomplishments look smaller, her successes invisible. She thought about the birthday parties where Zola insisted on wearing the brightest dresses, ensuring all eyes were on, or the times Amara would try to speak up, only for Zola to interrupt with a louder voice, a clever joke, or a well-timed compliment that shifted everyone's attention back to her. At first, Amara had laughed it off, thinking it was just Zola being playful or confident. But now, as an adult, she could see a clear pattern. Zola had always been calculating, always aware of how to manipulate people and situations to serve her own advantage. The realization that Zola had deliberately hidden the invitation to Grandma Abina's birthday party cut deeper than any childhood disappointment. It wasn't just a playful attempt to steal attention this time. It was a calculated act of betrayal. Amara felt the sting of being deliberately excluded from something monumental, something that would reveal the family's secrets and honors. The anger bubbled inside her, but so did a sharp sadness. How could someone so close, her own sister, choose to hurt her like this? The thought that Zola had done it with full awareness, smiling to herself as Amara remained unaware, made the betrayal feel personal, almost cruel. As she remembered the small betrayals from their childhood, the times Zola had taken credit for ideas Amara had shared, the moments she had twisted stories to make Amara look weak, the constant competition that had never been fair, she realized this had been a lifelong pattern. Zola had always sought the advantage, the upper hand, even if it meant hurting her own family. And yet, despite all that, Amara couldn't deny that she had loved her sister, had hoped for fairness, had believed that at some point Zola would see the value in honesty and loyalty. Sitting there, holding the empty space where the invitation should have been, Amara felt a mix of emotions swirling inside her. Anger, hurt, disbelief, but also a spark of resolve. She understood now that this betrayal, though painful, was also a moment of clarity. It revealed the truth about Zola and forced Amara to confront the reality of their relationship. The pain of being overlooked, of having her place denied once again, was real, but it also lit a fire within her. She wasn't going to let history repeat itself. This time, she would act, and she would make sure she claimed what was hers, no matter what Zola tried to do. Amara sat quietly in her room, the memory of Grandma Abina's words from months ago replaying in her mind. It had been a sunny afternoon when she and her grandmother had shared a rare private moment. While the rest of the family was busy with chores and gossip, Abina had taken Amara aside, her eyes twinkling with a mix of mischief and wisdom. "You have a special place in this family, my dear," she had said softly. "One day, you will understand what that really means." At the time, Amara hadn't fully grasped the weight of the words. They had sounded like gentle encouragement, something comforting from her grandmother's warm heart. But now, with the invitation hidden and Zola's betrayal looming large, those words felt like a lifeline. She tried to remember every detail of that conversation, the way Abina had held her hand, the serious yet tender look in her eyes. It was clear that Abina saw something in Amara that Zola could never touch: honesty, patience, and a heart guided by integrity. In that moment, the memory became more than just words. It became a spark of hope. Despite the sting of being excluded from the birthday celebration, Amara felt a quiet certainty rising inside her. Maybe, just maybe, this was not the end of her story, but the beginning of something far bigger. Amara thought about what her grandmother had said about the family legacy. She remembered the stories Abina used to tell about past generations, how some had been remembered for wealth, others for wisdom, but the truly honored ones were remembered for their character. Could it be that Abina had seen Amara's potential to carry forward the family values, even if Zola had always tried to overshadow her? The thought made her chest tighten with both fear and excitement. Fear because she didn't know how to claim what was hers, and excitement because she felt the first flicker of possibility, an opportunity to step fully into her place in the family. Even as she replayed the memory, Amara's mind wandered to the upcoming birthday party. She imagined the grand hall filled with relatives, friends, and neighbors, the chatter, the music, and the warm smell of traditional dishes wafting through the air. Normally, she would feel small, invisible, excluded. But now, with her grandmother's secret words in her heart, she began to see herself different. Maybe her absence wouldn't be permanent. Maybe there was a way to stand tall and claim her place. The more she thought about it, the more determined she became. Grandma Abina had given her a hint, a nudge that she was ready for something greater, even if Zola wanted to block her path. Amara realized that this spark of hope was enough to ignite action. She could not sit back and let Zola's schemes define her destiny. She had a purpose, a family legacy to honor, and a grandmother who believed in her. For the first time since discovering the betrayal, Amara felt a steady flame of confidence. This could be her moment, the moment she stepped forward, embraced her place, and proved that her grandmother's faith in her was well placed. Amara refused to sit in her room and let Zola's betrayal define the day. She could feel the rain starting outside, soft drops tapping against her window, but instead of feeling gloomy, it fueled her determination. She picked up her phone and called her closest friends, the ones who had always supported her, the ones she could trust. She explained what had happened, her voice steady even though her heart was racing. They didn't hesitate. Within minutes, plans were made. They would help her get to Grandma Abina's mansion, no matter what. Next, Amara arranged her own transport. She didn't wait for Zola's permission or anyone else's approval. A car would take her directly to the party, rain or shine. As she got ready, she checked her reflection in the mirror. She straightened her posture, smoothed her hair, and reminded herself why she was doing this. This wasn't just about a party. It was about claiming what was hers, honoring her grandmother, and stepping into the place in the family legacy that had been promised to her. Every raindrop that hit the window seemed to echo her heartbeat, fast, purposeful, unstoppable. The drive to the mansion was quiet, except for the rhythmic patter of rain on the car roof. Amara watched the streets of Accra blur past, her mind replaying Grandma Abina's words from months ago. "You have a special place in this family." Those words gave her courage. She imagined the hall inside the mansion, filled with laughter, music, and family. She imagined the moment she would finally step in and face Zola, face the whispers, and most importantly, stand before her grandmother. As the car turned into the driveway, Amara felt a thrill of anticipation. The rain fell softly on the polished stone of the mansion's entrance, creating a sense of drama, almost cinematic. She took a deep breath, feeling both nerves and excitement swirl inside her. This was her chance to show courage, to act with integrity, and to prove that she belonged in the family's heart and future. Her friends and allies stood close, ready to support her, but she knew the first step had to be hers alone. When she opened the car door and stepped onto the wet driveway, the smell of rain mixed with the scent of flowers from the mansion's garden. Amara adjusted her dress, straightened her shoulders, and walked forward with steady steps. Every step felt symbolic, a movement from exclusion to action, from being overlooked to taking control. She wasn't sneaking in, she was entering with purpose. Every glance from passing staff or late-arriving guests reinforced her resolve. She would not be denied. By the time she reached the grand doors, Amara's mind was clear. Rain-soaked and determined, she was ready. She knew that today could change everything. She would see her grandmother, claim her place, and face Zola. Nothing, not betrayal, not manipulation, not hidden invitations, would stop her from stepping into the moment she had been waiting for her entire life. Amara pushed open the grand doors of the mansion, and for a moment, the chatter of the party seemed to freeze. She stepped into the hall, her shoes clicking softly against the polished marble floor. Guests paused mid-conversation, their heads turning toward her. Zola's eyes narrowed, a smug smile still painted on her face, but it faltered slightly when she saw Amara walk in as if she belonged there. Whispers rippled through the room, rising in volume like a wave. People were curious, surprised, even a little shocked. The hall was magnificent, filled with flowers, candles, and the golden glow of chandeliers. But Amara barely noticed the decorations. Her eyes were locked on Grandma Abina, who was seated at the head of the room, surrounded by close family and friends. When Abina's eyes met hers, a sparkle of recognition and pride lit up her face. A warm smile spread across the grandmother's face, and in that moment, Amara felt a surge of belonging that washed away the sting of exclusion. It was as if the entire room could feel the shift, the sudden tension bending toward something monumental. Amara moved with purpose, gracefully weaving through the crowd. She ignored the occasional nudges and side glances from Zola, who seemed to struggle to maintain her composure. Guests leaned in, murmuring under their breath, trying to make sense of the sudden appearance. Some were impressed by Amara's confidence, while others were curious about why she had been absent until now. Every step she took brought her closer to her grandmother and further into the center of attention, not for attention's sake, but because this was her moment. When she reached Abina, Amara knelt briefly and kissed her grandmother's hand. "Grandma," she said softly, her voice steady, "I wouldn't miss this for anything." Abina's eyes glistened with emotion, and she gave Amara a gentle nod. The room seemed to hold its breath, sensing the unspoken connection between them. The energy in the hall had changed completely. What had begun as a festive celebration had now transformed into something much more important, a moment where truth, loyalty, and recognition would unfold. Zola's smug expression faltered further as she realized that this wasn't just about a surprise appearance. Everyone could see the respect and love Abina had for her. Even the friends and relatives who hadn't known about the invitation's disappearance began to understand that this was no ordinary party. It was a stage for revelation, and Amara had stepped onto it with quiet confidence. As the whispers continued, Amara took a deep breath, letting the warmth of her grandmother's gaze fill her. She felt steady, strong, and ready. She knew that the moment of truth was approaching, and when it came, she would stand tall, claim her place, and let the world see that Zola's schemes could not overshadow her. The grand hall, once full of ordinary celebration, now buzzed with anticipation, and everyone could sense that something unforgettable was about to happen. The room went quiet as Grandma Abina slowly rose from her seat. Every conversation stopped, every gaze turned toward her. There was a weight in the air, a feeling that something important was about to happen. Amara's heart raced, but she kept her composure, standing tall beside her grandmother. Zola, who had been smug and confident just moments before, now looked tense, as if she sensed what was coming but couldn't stop it. Abina cleared her throat and looked around the room, her eyes shining with pride and clarity. "Today is not just a celebration of my birthday," she began, her voice steady and strong. "It is a moment to honor the values I hold dear, and to pass forward the responsibility of our family legacy." She paused, letting her words sink in, and then turned her gaze to Amara. "Amara," she said, her voice softening, "you have always shown loyalty, integrity, and dedication. You have worked quietly, honestly, and with a heart full of respect for this family. For this reason, I declare you my only heir." Gasps echoed through the hall. Some guests covered their mouths in surprise, while others exchanged astonished glances. Even Zola's face went pale, her carefully practiced smile slipping as she struggled to find words. She opened her mouth, closed it, and opened it again, but nothing came out. For once, her scheming and manipulation had no power. The room, once filled with laughter and chatter, was now completely silent, all eyes on Amara and her grandmother. Abina continued, her voice gaining strength. "Amara, it is not wealth or charm that I value most. It is honesty. It is hard work. It is the courage to stand up for what is right, even when it is difficult. These qualities cannot be faked, and they cannot be taken away. Zola has sought advantage through cunning and manipulation, but true honor comes from integrity, not deceit." The words hung in the air, clear and undeniable. Amara could feel the energy of the room shift completely. People were no longer thinking about the party or the decorations. They were witnessing a declaration that would shape the family's future. Amara felt a wave of relief and pride wash over her. Every moment of feeling overlooked, every time she had been pushed aside by Zola, had led to this. She had been recognized not because of ambition or cleverness, but because of who she was at her core. She looked at her grandmother with gratitude, and Abina's eyes shone back, filled with love and affirmation. Zola finally broke the silence, her voice trembling as she tried to argue, but even then, her words felt empty. The guests were on Amara's side without needing to speak. They could see the truth. This was the moment of revelation, the moment where honesty and loyalty triumphed over manipulation. In that grand hall, under the glittering chandeliers and the eyes of family and friends, Amara's place was finally clear, and no one, not even Zola, could challenge it. Zola's face flushed bright red as she tried to speak, her voice trembling with anger and disbelief. "This isn't fair. I should be the one. I've done so much for Grandma. I deserve this." She waved her hands, trying to make her argument sound convincing, but the room had already shifted. Guests exchanged uneasy glances, unsure how to respond to her sudden outburst. Amara stayed calm, her shoulders relaxed and her voice steady. She took a slow breath, then stepped closer to Zola. "Zola," she said softly but firmly, "this isn't about entitlement or who thinks they deserve what. It's about Grandma's wishes." From her bag, she pulled out a set of neatly folded letters. Each one bore Grandma Abina's handwriting, carefully written and full of love and guidance. "These letters," Amara continued, "clearly state Grandma's intentions and explain why she chose me to carry forward her legacy. Everything you think you know about what's fair isn't relevant." A hush fell over the room as Amara handed the letters to one of the family elders. Guests leaned in, curious to see the proof. Zola's mouth opened and closed, her words failing her. She had always relied on charm, quick thinking, and manipulation to get her way, but here, faced with tangible evidence, there was nothing she could do. Her schemes unraveled in front of everyone she cared about, and for the first time, the carefully constructed mask of confidence slipped completely. Amara didn't raise her voice or speak harshly. She simply presented the truth, quietly but clearly, letting the evidence speak for itself. The letters showed Abina's wishes, her praise for Amara's integrity, and her clear instructions that Amara was to inherit the family responsibility. Every person in the room could see it, and the energy shifted instantly. Whispers turned to murmurs of understanding and agreement. Guests nodded toward Amara, some even murmuring words of admiration for her composure and respect for her grandmother's wishes. Zola's attempts to argue fell apart further as family members and close friends began speaking up. They confirmed Amara's loyalty and dedication, recounting the times she had quietly supported the family without seeking recognition. Each voice reinforced the truth that Zola had tried to hide or twist. By the time Zola realized she had no allies and no argument strong enough to counter the letters, humiliation had fully set in. She looked around, desperate, but even those who had once admired her cleverness now saw her manipulation for what it was. Amara, standing tall and composed, felt a sense of relief and quiet triumph. This was never about defeating Zola out of spite. It was about honoring her grandmother and the values she had taught her. The hall, once tense and uncertain, now buzzed with respect for Amara's courage and clarity. In that moment, she not only faced her sister but also showed the entire family what integrity, patience, and truth could accomplish. Zola, stripped of her schemes and her confidence, sank back into her seat, defeated and silent. Amara's calm strength and the undeniable proof of Grandma Abina's letters had turned the confrontation into a public reckoning, and she had emerged with grace, dignity, and the respect of everyone. The room was alive with a new energy after the confrontation. Friends, cousins, and trusted neighbors who had come for Grandma Abina's birthday were still processing what had just happened. Everyone had seen Zola's carefully built facade crumble, and everyone had seen Amara stand firm, calm, and composed. The whispers that had once carried surprise and uncertainty now carried admiration. People were impressed, not just by Amara's courage, but by the quiet strength she had shown in handling such a tense moment with grace. Amara's closest friends, the ones who had helped her get to the mansion and stood by her side, exchanged proud smiles. They knew the kind of person she was, but seeing it recognized in front of the whole family and community brought a sense of vindication. For years, Amara had been overlooked, her loyalty and honesty quietly taking root, while Zola sought attention and recognition. Now, it was clear to everyone that the family's trust and the community's respect rightfully belonged to Amara. Cousins who had sometimes doubted Zola's actions now saw the truth firsthand. They witnessed the letters, heard the calm clarity in Amara's voice, and saw the way she stood firm without resorting to anger or blame. They whispered among themselves, nodding in quiet approval, realizing that Amara had always been the one who truly carried the values Grandma Abina treasured. Even neighbors and family friends who had never known the details of Zola's schemes were taken aback by the display of integrity and composure. They looked at Amara differently, impressed by how she had turned a potentially messy confrontation into a moment of clear, undeniable truth. The contrast between the sisters was impossible to ignore. Zola, who had relied on manipulation and charm, had nothing left to defend herself with. Amara, calm and collected, had evidence, dignity, and the support of those who truly mattered. The hall seemed to hum with approval, a silent acknowledgement that justice, honesty, and grace had won. People smiled at Amara, offering quiet congratulations, gestures of respect, and words of encouragement. She could feel the weight of years of being overlooked lifting as the room subtly shifted in her favor. Amara didn't gloat. She didn't need to. Her victory wasn't about proving Zola wrong. It was about being recognized for who she was and the values she had always upheld. The room itself seemed to celebrate her poise and courage. Friends leaned in to whisper their admiration. Cousins exchanged glances of respect, and neighbors nodded as if confirming that they had seen something extraordinary. Even those who had been skeptical before now understood that Amara's integrity and patience had brought her to this moment. By the time the initial shock faded, Amara's place in the family and community felt solid. Her reputation for honesty and grace had grown immeasurably, and those who witnessed it knew they had seen more than a birthday party. They had witnessed the triumph of patience, loyalty, and truth. In that grand hall, surrounded by allies and witnesses, Amara's vindication was complete. She had faced betrayal and emerged stronger, respected, and ready to embrace the future that was always meant to be hers. With Grandma Abina's blessing, Amara finally stepped fully into the role she had been prepared for all her life. The weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders, but instead of feeling burdened, she felt a sense of purpose. The family estate, with its sprawling properties and intricate affairs, was now hers to manage, and she approached it with careful thought and determination. She knew it wasn't just about wealth. It was about preserving a legacy, honoring traditions, and making decisions that would benefit the entire family for years to come. Amara began by reviewing every property, every document, and every responsibility that had been entrusted to the family. She met with staff, advisors, and longtime family friends, listening carefully to their insights while planning a fair and organized system for where there had been confusion or favoritism. She brought clarity. Where traditions needed to be preserved, she made sure they were respected, even as she introduced thoughtful updates to keep the family moving forward. Each decision reflected her values: honesty, fairness, and care for the people who had supported the family for generations. The shift in leadership was not without tension. Zola had to face the reality that her schemes had failed and that Amara's place was now official and recognized. At first, Zola resisted, offering complaints and insisting that she should still have a voice in decisions. But Amara remained steady, patient, and calm. She explained the plans clearly, showed the letters from Grandma Abina as proof, and involved Zola in a limited, constructive way, making it clear that manipulation would no longer have power in the family's affairs. Slowly, Zola realized she had no choice but to accept the decision. Amara also focused on building trust and support within the wider family and community. She reached out to cousins, neighbors, and friends, ensuring they felt included and heard. By being transparent and considerate in her decisions, she gained not just authority, but respect. People who had once questioned her abilities began to see her as the natural leader of the family, someone who could balance tradition with fairness and authority with empathy. Despite the challenges, Amara's confidence grew. She understood that claiming the legacy wasn't just about power. It was about responsibility, stewardship, and honoring the vision Grandma Abina had for the family. Every property she reorganized, every decision she made, and every family tradition she upheld reinforced her rightful place. The estate began to feel more unified, more stable, and more forward-looking under her guidance. By the time the initial adjustments were complete, the message was clear. Amara was not just the heir in name, but in action. She had earned her place through integrity, patience, and courage. Zola, though forced to accept her sister's authority, became a silent witness to Amara's leadership and fairness. The family estate, once a source of tension and rivalry, now reflected a new chapter, one defined by honesty, clarity, and the rightful stewardship of. She had claimed her legacy, and with it, the respect and trust of everyone around her. The birthday party that had once promised only tension and disappointment became the moment that changed everything. What had started as a celebration of Grandma Abina's life turned into a turning point for the whole family. Amara, once excluded and overlooked, had stepped forward with courage and clarity, and by the end of the night, she had earned not just her rightful place, but the respect and admiration of everyone present. The hall that had whispered with curiosity and shock now buzzed with a quiet sense of justice, as if the family and community were collectively acknowledging the triumph of truth over manipulation. Amara's journey had not been easy. She had faced betrayal from someone she loved, been pushed aside repeatedly, and questioned whether she had the strength to claim her place. Yet, through it all, she remained patient, thoughtful, and true to herself. By showing integrity and calm determination, she had turned a moment of exclusion into a moment of empowerment. Her actions reminded everyone watching that strength wasn't about loud words or clever tricks. It was about standing firm in honesty, valuing hard work, and acting with courage even when the odds seemed stacked against you. The impact of her actions extended beyond the party hall. Family members who had once been swayed by Zola's charm now saw the difference between genuine loyalty and manipulation. Friends and neighbors admired Amara's poise, realizing that her journey was a lesson in resilience and grace. Children who were watching learned that being overlooked didn't mean being powerless, and that respect and recognition come to those who act with integrity. The story of the day would be shared for years, becoming an example of how truth and courage could overcome deceit and selfish ambition. Even Zola, who had tried to control the moment, became a silent witness to her sister's success. Though she had lost her chance to manipulate events, her sister's calm strength and respect for their grandmother's wishes became impossible to ignore. The shift wasn't just in titles or property, it was in the way the family related to one another, the way the community saw them, and the way Amara herself carried herself moving forward. By the end of the evening, the party was no longer just a celebration of a birthday, it was the beginning of a new era. Amara had shown that patience, courage, and integrity were powerful tools, capable of transforming betrayal into triumph. Her journey inspired everyone who witnessed it, proving that true strength comes not from scheming or selfish ambition, but from staying true to oneself and standing up for what is right. In that moment, Amara's future and the family's legacy were secure, built on respect, fairness, and love.